I'll never forget that night. The air in our dining room felt like it could snap. The chandelier threw light across the table, bouncing off Mom's old china plates, but it didn't warm anything up. My dad, Richard Caldwell, sat at the head, slicing into his steak like it was just another Tuesday. Emily, my sister, lounged across from me, twirling her fork, that smug little smirk already creeping up. Me? I was just trying to keep my hands from shaking as I gripped my napkin. Then Dad dropped the bomb. "Emily's taking over the company," he said, casual as if he'd just picked her to grab the mail. I froze. My heart thudded hard, like it might punch through my chest. "What do you mean?" I asked, voice tight, even though the answer was already clawing at me. I'd given everything to Caldwell Enterprises. When it was crumbling, debts piling up, clients jumping ship, I was the one who pulled it back. Me, hunched over my laptop at 3 a.m., eyes burning, coding the software that turned a sinking ship into a $300 million lifeline, not Emily. She'd been off shopping or sipping martinis while I fought to save us. Dad didn't even look up from his plate. "You're great with the tech stuff, Lauren," he said, like I was some kid who'd fixed his printer. "But leading? That's Emily's lane. She's got the spark." Spark? I wanted to laugh or maybe scream. Emily's spark was flirting with investors at parties, not building anything real. I'd poured my soul into that company, and he was handing it to her like a gift. Her smirk widened, eyes glinting over her wineglass. She didn't say a word, just sat there soaking it in. I could have yelled. Could have flipped the table and let every ugly thought spill out, but I didn't. I swallowed it down, the anger burning hot in my throat. My hands unclenched, and I pushed my chair back, the scrape loud in the silence. "Got it," I said, low and steady, sharp enough to cut. My heels clicked on the marble as I walked out, not running, not braking, just moving. They thought I'd roll over, take the hit like always. But inside, something clicked. This wasn't the end. It was the start. They'd lit a match, and I'd make damn sure it burned them back. I was halfway to the door when Dad's voice stopped me cold. "For your effort," he said, like he was tossing scraps to a dog. I turned, and there it was, a wrinkled $50 bill, slapped onto the table like some pity prize. It sat there, mocking me, right next to my wineglass, still full because I couldn't stomach a sip. My throat burned. Effort? I'd clawed Caldwell Enterprises out of the gutter, nights blurry with code, coffee going cold, panic attacks I hid from everyone. All for that? $50? Emily didn't even flinch. She just sat there smirking like she'd pulled one over on me, her wineglass tilted in a lazy toast. She hadn't done a damn thing when we were sinking, too busy flirting at galas or napping through crises. But Dad kept talking, his knife slicing through steak like it was my pride. "Emily's got the presence to lead," he said. "You're smart, Lauren, but that's not the same." Smart? I'd rebuilt his legacy, and he was dangling it in front of her like a shiny toy. I wanted to explode, sweep that table clean, let every jagged word fly, but I didn't. I'd learned long ago that shouting at them was like yelling at a wall. My hands shook, but I grabbed that bill, folded it tight, and shoved it in my pocket. "I don't need your crumbs," I said, voice low, sharp enough to sting. Emily's grin flickered, just for a second. But I didn't care. I turned and walked out, the door clicking shut behind me like a gunshot. That $50 wasn't a reward, it was a shove. They thought I'd take it, bow my head, and stay small. But as the night air hit me, something snapped into place. I wasn't just hurt, I was done. Done playing their game. Done being the quiet fix-it girl. They'd lit a fuse with their little stunt, and I'd make sure it blew up in their faces. They had no idea what I could do when I stopped holding back. I walked into the office the next day, my stomach already twisting. The usual buzz felt off, too quiet, too wrong. I pushed open my door and it hit me like a punch. My desk was stripped bare. No laptop, no papers, nothing. My Lauren Caldwell CTO nameplate was gone, swapped for one that read Emily Caldwell CEO. Then I saw her, Emily, sprawled in my chair, flipping through a stack of files like she'd earned it. She glanced up, all fake cheer. "Hey, Lauren, didn't Dad tell you? You're on my team now." My mouth went dry. "Doing what?" I asked, barely keeping it together. She shrugged, smirking. "Maybe IT support. Something small. IT support? After I'd coded us out of ruin?" I stepped back, the room tilting. Over the next few days, I watched her torch everything. She axed my best developers, brought in her giggling friends who couldn't spell spreadsheet. Clients called me, pissed, saying deals were falling apart. I kept waiting for Dad to step in. He had to see this disaster. But he didn't. Not a word. He just sat in his corner office, sipping coffee, letting her run wild. That silence cut deeper than anything. I stood in the hallway one night, staring at the flickering lights, and it clicked. This wasn't about family. It was a power trip. All those years I'd busted my ass, late nights, panic fixes, turning a dying company into a gold mine, meant nothing to them. They'd never cared. I was just the tool they used until Emily wanted the spotlight. My hands clenched, nails biting into my palms. Every crash I heard, every dumb choice she made, was like watching my work bleed out. I couldn't keep pretending this was okay. Loyalty? That died the second they erased me. But walking away wasn't enough. I'd built this place, and now it was crumbling under her. The tension gnawed at me, a tight coil ready to snap. I had to choose, stay quiet and watch it die, or fight back and take what was mine. They thought I'd bend. They were about to learn I don't break. I couldn't watch Emily shred my work anymore. It was like seeing my soul ripped apart. One night, I slipped out to a dive bar, the kind with sticky tables and dim lights. Jake, Maya, and David were already there, my old crew, the ones who'd bailed when Emily turned the office into her playground. "What's next, Lauren?" Maya asked, her voice cutting through the hum of the jukebox. I slid a beat-up notebook across the table, my hands steady for the first time in weeks. "We build something new, something they can't touch." They didn't blink, just nodded, in it with me. I'd been holding on to a secret, the latest version of my software, locked away on my personal drive. I'd poured months into it, quiet nights alone, coding through the hurt, making it sharper than anything Caldwell Enterprises ever had. It was mine, not theirs, and it was gold. I took it straight to Dad's biggest rivals, walked into their sleek boardroom, and laid it out, every feature, every edge. They didn't haggle. $50 million, they said, pens ready. I signed right there, my name a jagged slash on the page. That ink felt like a knife twisting in their backs. This was it, the breaking point. I wasn't just walking away, I was betting everything on myself. They'd thought I was the backup, the geek who'd fix their messes and stay quiet. But I was the one who'd kept that company alive, me, not Emily with her fake smiles and empty promises. Signing that deal proved it. I could hear the cracks forming already. Caldwell Enterprises wouldn't survive this hit. My heart pounded as I left that meeting, not with fear but with fire. I didn't do it to burn them down, not really. I did it to stand up, to show I didn't need their approval or their name. They'd forced me out, thinking I'd fade. But I turned their shove into a leap, and now I was flying. They'd see soon enough I wasn't the weak link. I was the strength they'd never. Nova Systems took off like a rocket. After that deal, my software was everywhere, pulling in clients faster than I could count. I'd sit in my new office, a wall of glass overlooking the city, watching numbers climb, $320 million in a year, and still soaring. Meanwhile, Caldwell Enterprises was choking. Word got around, Emily couldn't keep up, firing people left and right, scrambling to plug the leaks. I didn't gloat. I just watched, knowing I'd landed the blow that started it all. Then they came crawling. Dad and Emily showed up one gray afternoon, knocking on my door like lost kids. Dad's voice was rough, barely there. "We're family, Lauren. Save us." Emily stood behind him, eyes darting, offering me some second-string spot under her. I almost choked laughing. "Nova's worth $500 million, I said, leaning back in my chair. "Your company's a ghost. Why would I prop up a corpse?" Their faces fell, and I felt it, a sharp, cold satisfaction. They'd tossed me that $50 bill like I was nothing. Now I was everything they weren't. I didn't stop there. When Caldwell Enterprises finally hit rock bottom, I swooped in, bought it for pennies, just to wipe it clean. The day I signed those papers, they were there, slumped across the table, staring like I'd stolen their air. I didn't rebuild it. I let it die, erase the name that used to define me. That $50 bill flashed in my head, their cheap shot, now a footnote to my win. I'd turned their betrayal into fuel, built something unstoppable with it. They wanted mercy, but I gave them truth. They'd pushed me out, thinking I'd break. Instead, I rose, higher, stronger, on my terms. Nova Systems wasn't just a company, it was my proof. They had to live with the wreckage they'd made, while I stood tall above it. That wasn't revenge, it was justice, plain and raw. And damn, it felt good. Nova Systems was my castle now, 3 months in, and it ruled the skyline. A $500 million giant I'd built from scratch. Caldwell Enterprises? Just a whisper, a name nobody cared to remember. One morning, a letter slid under my door, Dad's shaky scrawl begging for understanding, not forgiveness. I didn't read past the first line. I grabbed a lighter, watched the paper curl into ash on my balcony, the smoke stinging my eyes. That past wasn't mine anymore. Then came the invite, a fancy gala tied to the old family name, thrown by some new owners. I went, not sure why, maybe just to shut the door for good. The ballroom glittered, all chandeliers and fake smiles, but I felt like a stranger. Dad and Emily were there, tucked in a corner, shadows of who they'd been. Dad's suit hung loose, his voice a rasp. "Here to gloat?" he asked, eyes dull. I shook my head, calm as the night I'd walked out. "No, just here to say goodbye." Emily looked up, her face tight, searching for a fight. I didn't give her one. "I don't hate you," I said, slow and steady. "I just feel sorry for you." They didn't answer, just stared as I turned away. I stepped outside, the cool air hitting me like a deep breath I'd been holding too long. Sliding into my car, I caught my reflection in the window, strong, free, mine. A smile crept up, small but real. I'd broken their chains, built something they couldn't touch. Nova Systems wasn't the end, it was my launch pad. There'd be more battles, bigger ones, and I'd face them my way, no one else's rules. Driving home, the city lights blurred past, and I felt it, peace, sharp and alive. They'd tried to bury me, but I'd grown roots deeper than they could dig. That $50 bill, their little jab, was long gone, replaced by a life I'd carved myself. The road ahead was wide open, and I wasn't done climbing. This wasn't a finish line, it was my beginning, and I was ready for whatever came next. "Hey, it's Lauren. Thanks for riding this roller coaster with me." From the ashes of betrayal to building my own empire, it's been one hell of a fight. If this story lit something in you, hit that like button. It means more than you know. Drop a comment below. What's the toughest thing you've turned into a win? I'm reading every word. Want more real talk about grit and comeback? Subscribe and tap the bell. You won't miss a beat. Life knocks us down, but it's what we build from the rubble that counts. Nova Systems is my proof, and I hope you find yours. Catch you next time. Keep pushing, because you're tougher than they think.